Mike, welcome, my friend. Great to have you with us here on Off the Bench. How's everything in Carolina Panthers land? I hope, first of all, is your kiddo okay? Because I know you said you had one a little bit under the weather.
We do. Yeah, she's. We got her to the doctor this morning. She's got strep throat, so it's just a matter of time before I get it myself. At this point, it seems like, but we'll take that as it comes, huh?
Well, our thoughts and prayers. We hope she's okay.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. We were just talking about, we like to play this game, as you and I were chatting yesterday, about, where they've been, where they are, and where they're going. Talking about the Carolina Panthers. You look back last season, there was a lot going on last season. McCaffrey starts the year with a team, ends up getting traded, the quarterback situation, on and on and on and on. Last year, when all was said and done, you look back at the Panthers season and you say what?
At the surface, it looked like a disaster, really, right? Had another sub-500 year, really flirting with the bottom of the division again. But when you kind of dig into it, we were a quarter and a half away from winning that division. Granted, the NFC South has kind of been a disaster the last couple of years, even with Tom Brady there. But, we're playing in a position even after Rule is let go and Steve Wilks jumps in and does a great job. We're playing the Buccaneers in the last week of the season to win the division, right? We jump out to a quick 14-0 lead, and then Tom Brady does Tom Brady things and kind of buries us. But at the surface level, it looked like another disaster season, but we were right there in the mix to win the South.
When you talk about the coaching situation, how did you feel about that whole thing? Because everybody weighed in, had an opinion. Wilks takes over. The team clearly played better than they did in the early part of the year. And then Frank Reich is brought in. I think everybody agrees universally Reich is a great hire. But what has the overall fan base reaction been to that decision?
At first, to your point, Steve Wilks had a great following. He turned around what seemed to be a terrible team and had them again right in the mix. I think he went 500 or right there at it with the team that Rule built and just simply couldn't win with. So he definitely built a following here. He's from here. He's from Charlotte. He had a lot of people in his corner, and I think a lot of people were really upset at first when Wilks didn't end up being the hire. But what Frank Reich has done since he was hired has really turned a lot of heads and really kind of turned that tide, I think. With the hires he's made, he's kind of gone the exact opposite route of what Rule did. Rule hired buddies. He hired his staff from Baylor. He hired folks that he coached with at Temple and really just kept his buddies around, whereas Reich went out, immediately hired Deuce Staley, who I think we can all agree is a great coach. And if you don't know a ton about him, just watch Hard Knocks from last year. He was great. Same thing with Ejiro Evero. He's one of the up-and-coming defensive coaches and has already been getting head coaching, traction.
Interviews.
Right. He's had the interviews. He's had some traction there, but just hasn't quite gotten that opportunity. But it's coming. Same thing with Thomas Brown, the offensive coordinator. He's been getting some love in the head coaching rounds as well. So, and then on top of that, you have Jim Caldwell, who has however many years of experience and is a great offensive mind, as well as Dom Capers, who was, our first head coach back in '95. He's been around forever. He definitely has that pool in the league and a lot of respect as well. So, with the hires he's made, he's really opened the eyes, and I think he's really got this fan base in his corner.
Well, it's a great fan base. I had a chance to broadcast many of their games through the years, including the first season they were down there and playing at Clemson University. Sure. And Dom Capers, as you mentioned, was the head coach. He went to the playoffs right out of the gate. They got to the Super Bowl very early on in the franchise's history. It's a great football market. A lot of people just think it's basketball. It's great football market. Okay, now where they are, before we get to the draft, Carolina's been very active in free agency trying to get this thing right. You took one of our very own here, a couple of them, in fact, in Hayden Hurst and Von Bell. I mean, already. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You got two really good players and really good leaders, especially Bell back there on the defense.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely familiar with Von Bell. Yeah, obviously, he started his career in New Orleans. He did a lot of good things down there before going up to Cincinnati. So, yeah, heck of a player on the back end, and that's really a position that we needed to lock down. We've had Jeremy Chin, who's definitely still an up-and-coming safety, but he really thrives near the line. And what Rule did right away was move him to the back end, and his play kind of slumped a little bit from there. So it'll be nice to have Von Bell in the back and really get Chin back there in that hybrid safety linebacker role. So that's a great signing, great player there. And then to your point, Hayden Hurst, I mean, since Greg Olson left and semi-retired and played his last year in Seattle, we haven't had a pass catching tight end. And this is something we've lacked. And especially with a rookie quarterback inevitably coming in, that's something you need. And he's about as good as there was on the market.
You know, you always get into the whole thing about, you know, do you start a rookie quarterback? And that's been one of those things that's been debated. And, you know, people will point to this situation and say, well, look what happened when he just sat out on the sideline for a year. You bring in another former Cincinnati guy who's had just an excellent career. I mean, he's not won in the playoffs. He's not won the Super Bowl. But Andy Dalton was just a solid sign. And clearly Reich understands the value of a veteran backup quarterback, at least theoretically a backup quarterback. Is a feeling around Carolina that whoever the Panthers draft with that first pick is a guy that should be starting day one? Or would a lot of people say, hey, I get it if you wanted to start the year with Andy Dalton?
To your point, he's a great, solid veteran. You know, we got to face him a couple times last year in New Orleans, and was he great? No, but he was solid. He's a serviceable starter, especially in a crunch. He's going to come in. He's going to get the job done. He's going to take care of the ball for the most part, and that's what you need. Will he start? I think that depends who we draft, really. I know you guys were talking C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young leading into it. I think both of those guys are capable of coming in and starting day one. I think it was Casey that was talking. He said that Stroud would be his pick. He's the safest pick. I think I agree. I think he's the safest. Is that my preference? I don't think so. I think I would prefer to go Young over Stroud. He has that it factor. Yeah, he's small. Yeah, he's slight of frame. But he's got it, you know. You look at the tape, he makes every throw on the field. He avoids the big hits in the pocket and outside of it. I think he's the leader in the clubhouse at this point, and I think he would probably be the day one starter. You hear what all these football guys say after meeting with Young or talking to the teams after they meet with Young. He's as bright as they come. You know, he's going to come in. He's going to have the playbook down, it seems like, immediately. And he's going to lead a team, and I think he'll be ready day one. I see the only situation where Dalton might start is if they really bet on upside and they take a gamble on Richardson down at Florida. I think that's the only opportunity at this point where I would see Dalton starting.
Well, I'll tell you what, right now, somebody ought to be committed and never work again in the NFL if they take Richardson over Stroud or Young.
That's funny. You know, that's a fight I've been fighting in actually in the opposite direction. It's funny. Maybe not at one. That would definitely take a trade back. You know, even to Houston at two, if they're going to be committed to Young and maybe he's not our guy. You know, gain a little bit of draft capital back, and if at that point you want to entertain Richardson, I understand. He's got all the upside in the world. He's just not a day one starter. I think everybody can agree with that. But with the coaching staff we have in place, I might gamble. I really might. I mean, Frank Reich, obviously, years and years of coaching experience, as well as playing quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He coached guys in a similar mold down in Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts, and he had a lot of success there. Same thing with Josh McCown. He's got years of experience playing and coaching, and that's not even to mention Jim Caldwell. So I feel like if there's a staff that's going to reach Richardson's ceiling, I think we've got it. It's just a matter of how much time we're willing to give it.
Well, last thing I want to ask you, because we don't follow it closely enough, the Bengals and the Panthers played each other last year, and we were talking with Aaron Freeman from the Falcons yesterday. You know, when you go out of your division and you play somebody or out of your conference, whatever it might be, it's kind of like you pay attention to it for a week, you watch a game, and you move on because you're not going to see him again for at least 3 more years. Is the offensive line going to be good enough, at least on paper, to protect whoever it is the quarterback, whether it be Dalton or one of these rookie quarterbacks?
I think so. So the one thing I will hand to Rule is that he left us with a good offensive line. I think last year we ended up in the top 12 to 15, I guess, in the PFF ratings across the line. Obviously, we invested early last year in Ikwanu at the left tackle side. Yeah, he got beat up a little bit early, but after I think game 2, he went about 8 to 10 games without even giving up a pressure, and another 2 or 3 without giving up his next sack. So he really came along in his rookie year. You got Brady Christensen, who we drafted a couple years before that at guard. Bradley Boseman, who I think is one of the best centers in the league. We made him a priority re-sign this year in free agency, and we locked him up. And then Austin Corbett, who we got from the Rams, and then Taylor Moton, who's been right there on the cusp of being a Pro Bowler every year since he's been here. So, yeah, I think so. And this is the first time in as long as I can remember that we're going to have a little bit of consistency year over year on the offensive line. And we kept our offensive line coach, who's one of the better ones in the league as well. So, in terms of line, I'm incredibly confident that we're going to be able to go ahead and keep a quarterback upright and then also have a good running game to go with it.
All right, young man. And again, for those of you that would like to follow, please go to @keep. What is that? What do you call that thing? I'm not.
Yeah. Underscore. Keep underscore pounding is where you got me on Twitter, and I'm happy to banter and go back and forth all day. It's what I enjoy doing, especially right now. I'm out of work. We just had a baby a few weeks ago, so I've got a few more weeks of freedom without going back to the office.
All right, so if I'm going to put you on the spot, because since you don't have to go back to the office for a little bit, I'm going to put you on the spot. You're saying if you had the pick, you're taking Bryce Young ahead of C.J. Stroud.
If it's me, if I'm Scott Fitterer, that's the pick.
All right, we're going to hold you to that then. We're going to hold you to that, Mr.
But don't
Bogaert.
get me wrong, C.J. Stroud is a stud. I'm incredibly thrilled if he's the pick too. But
no, we're not letting you off the hook there. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. We don't know you, but we're not going to do it. You're picking against our guy, C.J.
I like C.J. Stroud too. I really do.
All right. Mark, thanks so much for your time. Mike, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Of course.
Mike Bogaert, kind enough to join us. That's keep_pounding, right?
Yep.
At keep_pounding. We thank Mike Bogaert, kind enough to join us as he's getting his little girl to the doctor with strep throat. We certainly hope that she is okay. It was great having him. We'll circle back with him again later.